This is a show about the ferocious pursuit of incremental growth from the inside out. And it's also a show about whatever else I feel like talking about, no matter how random, irrelevant, or confusing the subject might be. You are listening to the Emotionally Excellent Man Show, and I'm your host, Jason McKenzie. I want to tell you the story of my daughter and her cell phone and what we've gone through over the course of the past week or so, because it's been really interesting, and I think it's been interesting for her. I mean, she might not describe the experience as interesting, to say the least. However, it's interesting. So let me tell you the story, and I think there's some really important lessons that come out of it, and probably there will be some more lessons that come out of it too. But so, God, it was over a week ago now where my daughter was, my older daughter, who's got a cell phone, was, she's very responsible. I want to make sure I say this up front, like extremely responsible. And so anyways, one of her friends dumped a bottle of water or something on her, and it got on her phone and broke it, right? So, you know, you can imagine for a teenager, this is basically the end of the world. So, and we were like, okay, so right now we're paying for your cell phone bill. That's going to change when she turns 15 and she's more able to get a job. Most of the part-time jobs around here, you need to be 15. So, and we said we'd pay for it until she's 15. So, but we also gave her the phone. Like, it was an older phone. It was like an iPhone 6 or something. And so we were like, whoa, hey, hold on a second here. Like, we're not going to just buy you a new phone. Like, there's no fucking way that's going to happen. Right? Like, this is one of those things. So we've had many conversations amongst ourselves, me and Tanya, about how, you know, whether to try to, like, you know, quote, force her to get a babysitting job or whatever. And we felt like, I think instead of trying to force it, I think the natural consequences will, like, this is what our thinking was, or this is what we came to, that the natural consequences would eventually make her realize, you know, she would get a job. Okay, what's a better way to say this? When the pain of having no fucking money outweighed the fear of, you know, going to drum up some babysitting jobs, it would just naturally happen, right? And it kind of happened earlier this year in the sense where she wanted to go to New York and with a friend, and she didn't have any money. And so we would have contributed to the trip, but we wanted her to save up the money too. Anyways, make a long story short, she didn't end up going, which was kind of pretty disappointing for her. And then with the cell phone, so we were saying to her, like, okay, dude, this is another one of those things where you're getting older, your life is getting more complicated, like, you know, as our lives tend to do. You get more stuff. Now you've got a phone, and this shit breaks. Like, this stuff happens. Like, it's not that your friends are bad people, but this is the kind of stuff that can happen. Life happens, and you got to be prepared, not only emotionally but financially, as best you can, to be able to, you know, absorb some of these things. You know, you got to have a safety fund of some sort. So we thought about it for a few days. Now, meanwhile, she's borrowing her sister's. Mel has a phone. Our younger daughter has a phone which is not connected, like, doesn't have a SIM card in it. So Chloe's like logging into her phone, you know, checking Snapchat or whatever. And so what we ended up doing was we tried a number of options to see if we could get her a free phone, knowing that the free phone we were able to get her would probably be very old and lame, and that would be in and of itself incentive for her to, you know, upgrade, do the work in order to get the money to be able to upgrade. So first what we did was, actually the first thing we did was we thought that one of us had an upgrade on our phone, which we went to check out, like on our phone plan. And we were going to work something out there, but they said we couldn't upgrade because, for whatever reason, we have this an old plan from work, previous work, and if we upgraded, we'd lose that plan and we'd have to pay like $40 more a month, right? So it was like, well, there's no way we're doing that. So that option was out. And then what happened was we decided to see if anybody had some like old phone. And so two people had an old phone. So the first one was like a old iPhone C or something like that, like whatever that means. I think they came out in like 2013 or something. Anyways, it was on the wrong cell phone network. And so meanwhile, she's having these highs and lows like, oh, maybe we can get a new phone by upgrading. No. Oh, this one iPhone, no, that doesn't work because it's not on the right network for your SIM card. And then the next one we got was like an iPhone 4 or something. And it had an old SIM card, like not the mini SIM cards. So her SIM card wouldn't fit in that. So she's just like, it's like this emotional roller coaster for her, right? And for us, though, we're like, shit, all these options to get like a free phone of some sort are not working. And we didn't want to extend her any credit, right? So what we ended up doing though was we felt like, this whole process took like 4 or 5 days to get to the point where we were like, okay, so we don't really see, like a kid needs a phone. She needs a phone because we want her to be able to have some freedom. Like we want to be able to know where she is, but we want her to be able to have some freedom too. And so being able to stay in contact with her is very important. So what ended up happening was we talked amongst ourselves and we decided that we would, because we couldn't think of any other option basically, right? So and we looked at some on Kijiji, and I'm really leery about buying a used phone. I had an experience earlier, like last year, where I almost went to pick up a phone, and then I found out this person is a scammer, and I was like, oh man, like I would hate for that to happen too, obviously. So what we decided to do was we said, okay, look, we will extend you the credit because we feel like we've exhausted all the options. Now, what we're going to do is we will match whatever we want you to get a new phone or like a certified sort of refurbished phone kind of thing. And what we want to do, we will match we'll extend you the credit, but we'll match whatever you save. So in other words, if your phone's $400, we'll buy the phone for you. And then you owe us $200, like half of that money back, and you have to pay it back by Christmas. And so we ended up doing that anyway. So she ended up getting a phone, but there was much more of a determination in her eyes. She's not going to let us down, man. Like she is super committed. She does not want the stress of being in debt on her plate. And so she's actually already got a babysitting job, and she's got a couple, I think. And there's another opportunity because she sent out an email to people offering her babysitting services, blah, blah, blah. And so I think by the end of this week, she'll have probably about a fifth or a quarter of the money saved up, which is pretty awesome. She's got it in a jar in Tanya's office, and she is pretty committed. So we'll see what happens. I freaking hope she does it. Like she wants to pay it off way ahead of the deadline. And I hope she does, because the closer it gets to the deadline, the more stress it's going to cause me. And I was saying to her, like, please, I don't want to have to take your phone away because you haven't paid it off. We'll do it, but man, it's going to suck. So I really trust that you can do it, that you're committed, and that you will get into the level of discomfort that is required for you to drum up the babysitting jobs. And we'll help you, man. Like if we see you making the effort, we'll do what we can to help you. But you own this, right? And so anyways, she's committed, and I'm pretty optimistic that she'll do it, and she's off to a great start. But what we learned about this, like what I think is the important message here, is that talking stuff through with your partner, oh my God, it is important, because in a situation like this, like we didn't know how to handle it. Like we're trying to figure out, as it relates to our values, our family values, like how do we handle this? What's the best way to teach this kid who's a great kid and is responsible? And this wasn't really her fault, but regardless, she needs to own it, and she needs to start getting uncomfortable, and she's growing up, and she needs to take responsibility. And how do we figure this out? And we had so many conversations about it, probably to the point of like, we were both fucking sick of talking about it, but together, through back and forth and having opposing ideas sometimes and the same ideas sometimes, and like just slowly talking and working it out and challenging each other's position, we got to something that we thought we could agree with. It's not our ideal solution, but it's the best one we could think of in the moment. But the point is that we collaborated and we worked on it together, and over multiple days in multiple contexts, and always sort of adjusting, right? Saying, oh shit, that didn't work. Oh shit, that didn't work. What are we going to do now? And, talking about, how our different decisions would impact Chloe, the lessons that it would send, like what it would teach her and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, you never really know if you've made the right decision till after you've made it. But ultimately we ended up having to make a decision. But I'm so pleased with how we worked together on it. And if that's anything you can take away from this particular podcast, that's what I would say, is that the power of collaboration, the power of open communication, the power of being willing to be challenged by the person you're closest to in the entire world is so important. And recognizing that when it's a decision like this, that really it's not just about the cell phone, right? It's about the lessons that you teach somebody, and those are really important. And they're best. It's not that they all need to be made together. It's obviously parents make decisions on their own all the time, depending on where they are, what's going on, and that's fine. But there's certain times when a decision needs to be made together, and it needs to have multiple iterations of ideas as they germinate and formulate and crystallize and all of that kind of stuff. And it's really a great model. Or a great sort of crucible in which to develop those skills that serve you everywhere in your relationship, right? Like shit, if you can have a great communicative relationship with your spouse where you can actually, come from maybe different point of views. Because honestly, Tanya probably would have been a little harder. I probably would have been a little softer if it was, if we were making the decision on our own. And through all that dialogue, we came to a point somewhere in the middle that we both felt comfortable with. And we do that a lot in our relationship, and we can have some pretty challenging conversations, and they always go well. It's not that we always come to the conclusion that maybe everybody's happy with. Like I think we mostly do, but the point is that we're able to do it in a way that I think is really productive, and is helping bring us closer together and help us, kind of work on some of the bigger issues that we face together. So that's kind of what I learned from this experience. Now Chloe's got an iPhone 7. She bought it. We made her buy a really nice case for it that covers it up. So it's very protected. And she is, I see a new determination in her and sort of a steeliness about the fact that she's going to get this done. So let's see how it goes. Hopefully it turns out well. But I'm really happy with how we work through the process. So I hope you can take something out of that today. And if you're having an issue with your partner, your spouse, or whatever, just try talking it out and be super curious about their point of view. Understand that the things they say and do make sense to them, and try to understand why that is. But just approach it with, you can be challenging, but having a foundation of deep curiosity makes everything so much better. Instead of leading with anger or defensiveness, just lead with curiosity. Okay, guys? Have a great day. And if you don't yet have teenagers, just wait for it. Thanks for listening to the Emotionally Excellent Man Show. Now, go own your shit like the powerful, handsome boss man that you are.